I'm very honored, ladies and gentlemen, to be associated, to work in the past, to know individuals. A lot of them have accomplished. You know, these are individuals who've been there, done that. Also, I'm very honored to have the partnership with Mrs. Rebecca. I always tell her, in our part of the world, when we eat with each other, when we work with each other, we call ourselves brother and sisters. And I'm very honored to work with Rebecca. She has a very vast work experience and knowledge within the media industry, within the training, she built a great association, which is Africa Management Institute. He's our mentor. He's our, Dr. Ahmed Tijani al-Mansouri is a great pioneer, is the CEO of a leading UAE company, which is Al-Rawabi. Al-Rawabi has vast experience in Africa. They have invested in Africa. They have ventured in Africa, from Sudan to Uganda to different, and I think Ahmed will give us his feedback. Yes. Akin Sawyer is a great friend who we ventured in the past. I appreciate his background in logistics, but also his strength in building the access. And he comes from Nigeria, the largest country in Africa, the powerhouse of Africa, the country that we believe that has a great potential as an export hub. They are now the second producer of fruit and vegetable in Africa, but the country has not, and also with the vision of the president of Nigeria, how not to depend only on oil, but to move also into an exporting hub of fruit and vegetables and perishables. He's the CEO of the African powerhouse of fruit and vegetables. And I think I will leave it to him also to share that vision with us. Our third speaker is Chris Coley. He comes from a family that has different facets of investment. He looks after the closest part and the closest to my heart, which is the perishable side. He's also the managing director of Cian Roses, which is one of the biggest players, even globally, on fruits and particularly flowers. And they export a lot of flowers globally. And he will share with us why Kenya and what do they do from flowers and what is the advantage of that. And lastly, Mr. Muhsin Ahmed Al-Awadi, and he is actually the CEO of Dubai Logistics City. And Dubai plays a major role in perishable trade and as a hub for most of Middle East, and also move things between Africa, Middle East, and Europe. And he will share with us how we can connect from logistic, but also from food security perspective. I will do the introduction. I will moderate some of the session with my sister Rebecca. And now I will move the mic to Rebecca to introduce what they do and how does she see this vision developing into bigger things in the future, inshallah. Rebecca, go ahead, sister.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walid. I really appreciate it. And I hear that I am to call you brother now, so thank you, brother. Great to meet all the other panelists. I'm absolutely honored to be here and extremely excited about this new partnership with Dubai Consulting and SMETalks. This is the first webinar in what I hope will be an ongoing relationship and partnership as we bring value to SMEs in the Middle East and Africa and help to build bridges between them. So first of all, I'd just like to say a welcome, echo Mr. Walid, a big welcome to anyone who's listening on our YouTube channel. And I'd love to encourage you, if you're listening on YouTube, please do just drop a note into the chat. It would be great to know who's in the audience. So please introduce yourself and your business. If you're listening on YouTube, it'd be great to get your name, the name of your business, the sector that you're in, introduce us, tell us what country you're from, say hi in your local language, and we'll look forward to taking questions from listeners during the course of the session. Okay, we've got one comment, but it's in Arabic, so I'm going to leave that to you, Ali, to interpret. To read. But yeah, just to say very briefly a little bit about AMI. So I'm one of the founders of African Management Institute. We are based in Nairobi with offices also in South Africa and Rwanda. We've reached 30,000 small businesses and managers across Africa, about 40 countries in Africa. And we exist to enable ambitious businesses across Africa to thrive. That's our mission. That's what excites us and motivates us every morning. We're particularly excited about this partnership because what we do is focus on tools and training for SMEs. So we have an online platform and a mobile app. We run workshops, we run webinars like this. We journey with SMEs to help them build the capacity that they need to withstand crises like the one that we're seeing right now, and to grow and thrive in the future, to create decent work and grow their revenues and build competitive markets in Africa. And of course, you know, while we focus on skills and capacity building, one of the things that we know SMEs need, because we hear it from them week in, week out, is access to markets. We know that there are thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands even, maybe even millions of small businesses out there across the continent that have great products, great entrepreneurs, ambitious entrepreneurs who are out there hustling to create new opportunities, even when the times are tough. And we're really excited to help through this partnership, we hope, bring them opportunities for export and expansion, and help them understand and navigate some of the opportunities out there, particularly in the Middle East. And we hope that will be reciprocal as well, that we're able to support SMEs in the Middle East to find markets and opportunities in Africa as well. So I'm not going to bore everyone with a long speech. I just wanted to explain who I am, who AMI is, encourage you to please participate on the YouTube channel. We would love to hear from you. And I'll hand back to you, Mr. Welly, to introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you.
I think one of the interesting things, one of our keynote speaker is His Excellency, the Minister of Agriculture of Uganda. When I spoken to him first, he said, "What do you want me to talk about?" Okay, so basically, I said, "Your Excellency, just share with us your vision. Share with us how do you see agriculture developing in Africa." So today we have agreed with His Excellency to join us, but as you guys are aware, he's joining us via a recording today, but we're trying to stimulate it. I apologize, guys. This is my second or third moderating Rebecca, so I'm not a pro. I'm trying to learn while we go. Okay, but His Excellency will join us via a recording. We're trying to see how can we integrate it, and he's our keynote speaker today. Yes, go ahead. We're trying to connect him with us. He's joining us now, His Excellency Vincent Simbeja, Minister of Agriculture of Industry.
Your Excellency, you are muted. The voice. Yeah. Your audio is muted, I guess.
Can you guys unmute His Excellency? I apologize, Dr. شكرا على التوضيح. Until we move from this technical, Doctor, you have experience in Uganda. You guys did something in Uganda.
Right, we did.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I would like to speak about the importance of investment in Africa first.
Okay.
And then I will speak about our experience in Uganda and in Sudan. We have invested in both countries. First of all, about the importance of investment in Africa. Africa creates a great opportunity. And apparently, there are a lot of threats coming global-wise. And people are scared about the famine, believe it or not. And this has been announced by Harvard University. The famine is supposed to start from globally from 2022, which is only 2 years from now, or 1 year and a half. And this famine will become
and the sector also contributes.
Now I think we
can go to His Excellency, then I will take over later.
Happy to have been invited to the Agricultural Trade Links SMETalks between the United Arab Emirates and Africa. I'm delighted to join you here for this important convention as we shape the Uganda's investment opportunities in the agriculture sector. Agriculture is the mainstay of Uganda's economy, and our efforts are directed at promoting investments in the sector for increased incomes and employment, food security, and wealth creation. So the sector contributes 24.9% of the GDP, 53% of export revenues are derived from agriculture, and the sector also contributes significantly to poverty reduction through agriculture production and productivity. Our sector good performance in agriculture production and exports was sustained in volumes and export earnings since 2014-2015. The objectives of this convention, which is themed on joining hands to seize opportunities, are really well thought out and in line with the Uganda government, specifically the ministry's agriculture sector strategic plan, ASSP. And I want to thank the organizers of this expo for a well thought out event. The ministry's vision is to achieve national development goal of poverty eradication, a competitive, profitable, and sustainable agricultural agro-industrial sector for accelerated rural development. The government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has the mandate to support competitive, profitable, and sustainable market-oriented agricultural production. And in this regard, the agricultural sector objectives, which continue to guide the government of Uganda interventions and outputs, are focused to the following. 1, to increase incomes through increasing production and productivity, ensure household food and nutrition security, create on-farm and off-farm employment opportunities, promote value addition to agricultural products, and promote domestic and external trade in agricultural products through cooperating with other countries. So government continues to pursue agricultural sector-led growth. The participation of private sector in agriculture and agribusiness is critical in achieving the agricultural growth objectives. Government will continue to create an enabling environment to achieve these objectives. I therefore wish to request the strategic stakeholders, both internal and external, to advocate for increased engagement so as to harness our agriculture's well-positioned and strategic investment potential. And this potential includes the following. Our potential is seen in the unique agroecological locations like Uganda. We have the tropical climate on the equator. 2, we have rising domestic, regional, and international markets for agricultural commodities. 3, we have rising global demand for food, an opportunity for increased production again. And we also have the new support for agriculture at national, regional, and continental, or even global levels. So Uganda exported to UAE, United Arab Emirates, goods worth US dollars 562.4 million during 2018. Other areas that we needed to emphasize in our UAE Africa trade links is development of the vegetable oil industry. We have already developed over 20,000 hectares of palm trees, and we are already involving 80,000 households that have benefited in this industry, in growing and selling to the factories. Our sector challenges still include the following: the low productivity, and sometimes climate change, and low technologies. So low value addition, we still lack improved technologies for agro-processing. We have also problems of infrastructure for production, processing, and marketing. We have limited access and availability of agricultural financing. We have also low levels of mechanization. We have started moving. We have the mechanization policy in place now, but we are still moving at a low pace. So markets and the market access, pests, vector, and diseases are still a bit of a problem. Institutional challenges, which include strengthening local governments, limited financing options for the agricultural small, medium enterprises, and lack of critical farm inputs, including low levels of mechanization. We still depend on rain-fed agriculture, therefore low levels of irrigation, and shortage of planting and stocking materials. I now take the opportunity to highlight leading value chains and projects for immediate investment in the Uganda agriculture sector. And these are: 1, these are the value chains ready for investment. And the first one is value addition in coffee, value addition in tea, value addition in cocoa. 2, grain milling and processing, especially the maize and the rice. We have increased our maize and rice production. Our maize production has reached 6 million tons. Rice is also, rice production is going up every day. Then also in the fruit growing, processing, and packaging for export, there is a very big opportunity. The processing of oil seeds, and of course pulses, and of course packaging in this area. The cotton and the textile industry is still, we produce cotton, but export it without adding value. We have not moved a step, so we need to invite investors to add value to our cotton. We are one of the biggest producers of cotton on the African continent. Establishment of aquaculture parks. Fish farming is still at its infancy. We still need improved and modern hatcheries, fish hatcheries. We also need fish feeds industry, and of course animal feeds industry in general. So all these areas are ready value chains for immediate investment. The abattoirs for international standards, abattoirs for meat and meat products, still an area which is ready. The animal feeds in general, the dairy and dairy products, we still need a lot of investment in this area. We also need investments in agribusinesses, the cold chain, packaging, construction of warehouses, cargo freights, input manufacture, e.g. commercial seed production, irrigation equipment, tractors, vaccines, chemicals, banking and insurance, and agro-tourism are all areas that where we need investments. So Uganda government will support small-scale farmers across the country to improve on the quality and the quantities of their produce to enable them supply the highly sought after and competitive Dubai and the UAE market. Once again, I want to thank the government of the United Arab Emirates for allowing products from Uganda to enter the UAE, especially the fruits and the vegetables and the grains. We are very grateful. And as I conclude my remarks, I wish to observe and recognize that this event has brought together various actors along the value chains in the agricultural sector. The outcome of this convention and the subsequent discussions will spur well-coordinated agricultural sector interventions and investments by both public and private sector from Uganda and UAE, targeting increased production, processing, market access, and maximizing the link between Uganda and the United Arab Emirates. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister Vincent Simbenga, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, Uganda. We thank him for his support. We thank him for the keynote speech today. And I think he has played a major role in supporting previous initiative and as well also supporting us today. I think to start our panelists today, we want to continue where we started. We started with His Excellency Honorable Vincent Simbenga, but I think to make it more relevant, Rawabi, it's a UAE company that invested in Africa, invested in Sudan, invested in Uganda, and also Dr. Ahmed Al-Mansouri is an individual who have experience in vast experience, but also he will share with us how can we integrate SMEs in that agriculture value chain. So I'll start our session today with Dr. Ahmed, the CEO of Rawabi. Thank you, Your Excellency. Go ahead.
Thank you, Walid. Abu Harib, thank you very much for inviting me to speak in front of these distinguished guests and speakers. I started my speech before His Excellency. I wanted to speak about two issues briefly because of the time. I want to speak first of all of the importance of investment in Africa as general, and in Uganda in particular, and in Sudan, because we have experience in both countries. The importance of investing in Africa, as I told you, I am a member of a forum in Harvard University. It is called the Agribusiness Forum. And the Agribusiness Forum started in 2015, and we are meeting every 2 years. The purpose of this forum is to try to mitigate the famine which was expected to take place starting from 2022, and it will become fierce in 2030 if we don't do anything about it. Why the famine will start in 2022? The agriculture world generally in America or South America or Australia or New Zealand or even Asia, Australia, unfortunately during the past 50 years, the world has abused the land, and the soil becoming now polluted with a lot of pesticides and chemicals. And the soil now is incapable of giving the same production which used to give 20, 30 years back. And the production per acres in these countries decline due to the abuse of the soil. Same thing for the water. The water also is polluted, and also due to abuse of human to the water. And this made the production of agriculture generally and the food generally to reduce. To make it more complicated, there is a lot of increase in population. Now India this year is going to be 1.3 billion inhabitants. China is going to be 1.4 billion inhabitants. And to make it even more complicated, there is not only increase in the population global-wise, but also there is improvement in the standard of living. The standard of living in Asia, especially in India and China, it has improved quite a lot. And whenever you have improvement in the standard of living, the consumption of food increases. And all of these factors which I mentioned threaten the world to go for big famine. So they are gathering us every 2 years to try to find solutions so this famine will not take place, or to mitigate it and to reduce the effect on the famine. The biggest recommendation was coming is to go to Africa. Why? Because Africa so far is the only continent which so far used only 7% of the agricultural land. And still there is 93% of the land in Africa which is intact. This land is the soil is not polluted, the water is not polluted. Virgin land and good source of water as well. Labor force in Africa is very cheap. Soil is fertile because it is virgin, as I mentioned. But there are certain things that people should approach in Africa. Walid knows this very well because Walid already has got very good experience in Central Africa, in Kenya, in Uganda. And I joined with him twice or 3 times. We went together there. And he has got very good connections. This is the most important thing in Africa. Yani people, they go to Africa without knowledge. Africa is different. The mentality is different. The culture is different. The traditions are different. And unless you consider all of these things, you will fail. But if you consider these things and you do the investment in a proper way, taking in consideration all of these factors, you can succeed and you can make very, very good profit in Africa. People are making profit in Africa. They are talking about 30, 40%, which is not happening in the rest of the world. Because in other countries, if you make 4 or 5% from food, you are very happy. But in Africa, it is different. Now, the second part, I would like to speak about the investment of Al-Rawabi in Uganda and in Sudan. We did a lot of stakeholder interview, and this is very important. This is my recommendation for everybody who want to invest in Africa. is not just go and rush and execute his project. He will get hurt. You have to do a lot of stakeholder interview, and you have to identify all of the stakeholders who are related to your project to make sure that you get all of the information you need and to address all of the expectations and needs of these stakeholders. Then after that, you prepare your risk analysis and risk management. See what are the risks for your project. Without this, you should not start your project in Africa because this is different. After you make analysis of your risks, those high risks you have to produce before you start your project, to produce what we call strategic alternative risk management plan for each of the high risk. And high risk are identified by the probability and the impact on the project. If the probability of the risk is high and the impact is high, these are high risks. So each of the high risk, you have to have a strategic alternative risk management plan. After that, then you go and make your Gantt chart and put your steps. And then you go for execution and monitoring your project. These are the steps which should be followed in Africa, because really it is very different than any other part of the world.
Doctor, let me put some air into it.
Yes,
how do you see the potential for SMEs from Africa to trade into our part of the world? And also, what are the opportunity for SMEs from our part of the world to identify opportunities in Africa?
Yeah, this is a good question, Walid. I think SM can do a lot of work in Africa because, like His Excellency, what he mentioned, the opportunities they have in Uganda, and nevertheless, it is also available in other African countries, Rwanda, Kenya, Mozambique, Tanzania, Sudan, Seychelles Island, all of these, Ghana, all of these African countries, each of them have got a lot of potentiality. United Arab Emirates is importing most of the food products. More than 95% of the food is imported. And SME can play a great role on that to initiate the investors, to make propaganda for the investors, and to tell the investors, like this talk which you have arranged, Walid, is a very good talk. Just I need to invite more people to get involved in this talk and to understand the importance of investment in Africa. Then the logistics is not that difficult. Rebecca might know that very well, and Mr. Mohsen, sorry. They can help in the logistics. The logistics is not difficult. And now there are a lot of opportunities through Emirates Airline, through Mr. Mohsen. They are facilitating and they are helping for logistics. So this is not difficult. Instead of UAE importing from far countries like Brazil, like Argentina, like Africa is close, and the production is cheaper as well.
Doctor, Anna, I will come back to you. Thank you very much. I will come back to you with the SME real challenges. Lana, I want to utilize your knowledge and this, but I will come back after, I will go right now to Akin Sawyer, but I want to come back to you with real problem solving. I want to use your brain, which is, mashallah, yani, to come up with problem solving for SME in Africa and UAE. Let me go to, thank you, Doctor. Let me go to Mr. Akin Sawyer, the CEO of the Agriculture Fresh Produce Growers and Exporters Association of Nigeria. Doctor and Akin, we're talking about Nigeria here. Nigeria is the powerhouse of Africa, the largest country in Africa, the biggest population, the country also the second producer of fruit and vegetable in Africa. Nigeria wants to be an exporter powerhouse. Can you tell us, Mr. Akin, what is being done, what can be done, and what jointly we can do to support that vision?
Thank you very much, my brother Walid. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
inviting me, and I'm pleased to be among such a distinguished set of panelists and speakers. Ahlan wa sahlan. So, I am the CEO of Agricultural Fresh Produce Growers and Exporters Association of Nigeria, an association focused primarily on the fresh agricultural produce sector, with a vision to expand Nigeria's reach into markets in the Middle East and to other parts of the world. And there's a very good reason why we want to do this. Nigeria, as Walid just said, is the second largest producer of agricultural fresh produce in Africa, second to Egypt. It's the largest producer in sub-Saharan Africa. So whether we want it to grow or not, it grows because we have vast amounts of arable land. We have 5 times the amount of arable land that Kenya has. And Kenya is doing $1 billion out of this fresh produce business. What are the other reasons why we're so interested in making sure that we can reach the rest of the world? One is that obviously there is with a growing world population, there's a growing threat to food security globally. And we, as a responsible country, want to make sure that we minimize that threat, that risk to the world. We obviously also have a huge population that can make good use of the vast amounts of arable land. That population is well versed in agriculture. We probably have more farmers in Nigeria than some countries have population in Africa. So we have a huge amount of farming experience. We recognize that the market is out there. Nigeria, because of its vast size and huge economy, has been able to draw a lot of aircraft from other parts of the world into Nigeria, either bringing in finished products or bringing in passengers. And the consequence of that is that we literally have an air bridge between Nigeria and the rest of the world. So at any point in time, any time of the day, there is always a number of aircraft that are either coming to Nigeria or leaving Nigeria. And if we're talking about fresh agricultural produce, these are air products. These are products that have short shelf lives, and therefore you generally have to move them by air. We literally have planes leaving Nigeria empty, having come into Nigeria full. So we're very competitive in terms of the logistics. Before the lockdown, I believe that Emirates had 2 flights a day into Lagos from Dubai. And there's Emirates Sky Cargo as well, which is doing a lot of very good work in terms of connecting the Emirate of Dubai and the wider UAE to many places, including Nigeria.
Other than what is, let us, whatever you're saying is amazing. It's good to my ear. Now, let us think, how can we make it happen? Now, you guys produce, just correct me, nuts, you produce fruits, you produce all these elements that we need, that GCC, that Gulf require. How can we get it there? And what is the challenges you have to get it there?
Thank you very much. It's a very good question. I think what we would be looking for, because we have a lot of smallholder farmers, a lot of small companies, what we're looking for really is a partnership at the other end. Dubai is obviously perfectly placed. So when we look to the Middle East for markets, we're looking really for a hub where we can land our products, where we can sort our products, where we can distribute to the Levant, to the GCC, to the wider Middle East, maybe even to the Far East. And so the partnership and what we can do is begin to look at our production capacity and our production capability and combine it with the fact that, you know, in Dubai, you have a major hub for air travel and for air cargo. And on top of that, what we really need is to look at a way in which we can market our products via the Middle East, via Dubai, and also use the opportunity of the logistics capability of Dubai by being naturally placed where it is, and the investment that the government of Dubai has made in logistics. How can we bring marketing, logistics, and our production capability to deliver value?
Let me ask the same question to Muhsin Al-Awadi. You guys are promoting Dubai as a perishable hub. You know, and what Mr. Akin have indicated, that there is a lot of cargo planes coming. Do you see the viability? Do you see a connectivity happening in this field?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for hosting this the SME talk, and I'm honored to be here with among some of the the speakers here. I think I'm just going to echo on what Mr. Akin mentioned earlier about that sort of the logistics. You know, I always remember a story. I was in Amsterdam airport, and I went to visit the flowers. And I'm asking the person who was handling the flower, where did this one come from? It came from Kenya. Where is it going? It's going to Moscow by road. And then the question is, why is it flying west and then, or going north and then flying east? Why couldn't that go through a much shorter route, which typically any of us would, if we buy a passenger ticket, we would have that.
This is a question that I think. Thank you very much for giving me a question for Chris. Huh?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, Chris will be the right person. But you know, that story just sort of raised a alarm bell in terms of, okay, why that's happening. I think I can mention that there is, okay, now there are freighters coming full into Africa, maybe into Nigeria, and then there were sort of return cargo. I think that's something that we need to look at. The volume of the network. I know we're predominantly relying on sort of national carriers, but I think what's important, and I think Chris can reiterate on this, is you need to have, if you're doing a lot of airlift, we need to have more freighter operators out of African countries into UAE or to any in general, as opposed to be dominating by just national carriers. But I think what also is important also is that we always talk about logistics in terms of the physical logistics. What would be good is how do we do sort of the soft infrastructure, sort of the regulation. Today you have African countries who regulate that if they want to send the product out of the country, there has to be some sort of money transferred before the shipment is moved out. Now, could that be a sort of a structure where through platforms like in the DIFC, where African banks are existing, that transaction happens, the goods can leave the country and it's secure. So I think the soft infrastructure of regulation, things to easing of trade, it could be a very key important factor to enhance that trade. And I think UAE, if you look at it today, UAE, if you know, after China, the European Union, and then the US, UAE as a country is the fourth largest investor in the African continent. And that just shows how our leadership feel Africa is very important, how we see Africa is very important to us in terms of our growth. And that shows that close collaboration needs to be done. Now, where SMEs is, I think SMEs is a very critical factor. I mean, many of the African trade is still on SME basis. We have quite a lot of SMEs here, and I think is how do we do a platform? This platform could be sort of digital, where transactions can happen, where even the monetary transfers could happen easily between this. I think. And that could be a sort of a very good opportunity to give opportunities to the African traders that they can now explore the Middle East, they can explore the CIS countries, they can explore the Far East, something that we already have very well established here in Dubai, where traders comes. I mean, I think the future, we have one particular interesting project that's coming out part of the Dubai South, is something called Dubai Global Connect. It's very much focused on SMEs. The objective of it is basically is that we get fashion, food, and furniture as sort of the three sectors that's been focused on. And the objective is we bring in a B2B businesses into Dubai on a physical domain or also the digital domain. And we start connecting traders across the globe to come and trade here, to facilitate in terms of transaction, in terms of experiencing the product, as opposed to people going around the world. They can come to one-stop shop. That's, I think, where these dialogues should look into. Which is, what are these challenges against each countries? We know we have the African Trade Union here, and I think through that platform, we need to see what are the challenges of soft infrastructure. I think Dr. Ahmed mentioned earlier, logistics is easy. Yes, the physical logistics is easy. But how do we deal with the soft infrastructure, the regulations, the flow of funds between the country, the quality control of the product? So when Chris sends a whole aircraft of beautiful roses, the guy in say Japan can rest assured that if it's going through this particular route, it comes in. Yeah.
Leave Chris alone. I have a lot of questions for Chris coming, so don't bother Chris.
No, but I think that's the discussion is we
Chris,
need to have that sort of way. Yeah.
Let me move to Chris. I think also, Chris, are you on the farm or you're in the office?
Actually, I'm at the office. I was supposed to be at the farm, but the internet's a bit better in Nairobi.
Good,
so I'm going to the farms in the morning.
See, I got the pleasure to visit your farms. I was amazed of the size, the infrastructure, the business model, also the group logistics strength as well. But I prepared different question, but then Mohsen threw a question that was direct to you. Why Kenyan flowers, Ethiopian flowers go all the way to Holland and get auctioned there and then go back to other destination? You lose days. Do you see? I don't want to say removal of that system, but do you see an establishment of secondary markets as we talk?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for having me, and it's really a pleasure to be on this panel with everyone. It's very interesting that you brought up that route through Holland, because we do supply a lot of flowers as a business to Russia, and we have a very interesting customer actually based in Siberia, where our flowers go by air to Amsterdam, by road to Moscow, and then by road again to Siberia. They take about a week and a half, about a week to 10 days to get there. And you know, we've tried to have a direct route because Russia buys a lot from Kenya, but the barriers to entry from the African side are quite difficult. You know, when the Dutch Prime Minister, for example, goes on a trade mission or on a meeting, on a state visit to Russia, to China, you know, on the flight with him will be the CEO of the company's called Royal Flora Holland. Yes. And if anybody ever has a long layover in Amsterdam, I would highly encourage you to go visit one of their auctions, which is, I think, the second or third biggest building by floor area in the world. And that's just and it's one of 3 auctions that they have in the Netherlands. And so the CEO of that company, for example, will be on that flight and will spend a long time telling the countries and the governments they're visiting that you know, if you buy your flour direct from Kenya, which you can do, it might have disease, it might have pests, it might have other issues. But if it goes through Amsterdam, you know, we can, you know, manage the product for you. Because unfortunately, it's a very hard business to crack, because we as a business, we sell 70% of our product direct, which means if you're a wholesaler,
Direct to Holland or direct to customers?
Direct to customers. So
okay.
If you're a wholesaler, if you're a supermarket chain, if you just have a wedding and you need to buy 100,000 stems, you know, you can call us, we can arrange transport. We get our flowers to Australia, to Siberia, to LA, to Canada, you know, and Nairobi is very well connected, especially through the Middle East. So
4.5 hours, 5 max.
Yeah, it's really, it's
22 flights a day.
Exactly.
And hopefully once before COVID.
Exactly. I was going to mention the airlines that fly here. We have, before COVID, we had Oman Air, we had Qatar, we had Saudi, we had Emirates, obviously, and Etihad flying daily to Nairobi. And that's just the passenger flights. When you add the cargo flights, even through COVID, Saudi Air and Qatar and Emirates have been vital to keeping the industry going. And so, I mean, really building a hub for our products, for the Nigerian product, for the Kenyan product, for the Ugandan products, all our African products through the Middle East makes sense, because that's our avenue into in India, Pakistan, China, you know, Southeast Asia as a block, and we have unique environments. Like Kenya is one of only 3 places in the world that has the weather conditions to grow flowers the way we do. So
as a powerhouse, you're considered one of the powerhouse of Kenya when it comes to flower. Why, you know, we see your flower coming through third party, not second party, third party. Do you see that is helping or not helping to strengthen the Kenyan flower market?
Yeah, for every middleman or every stage that you add to the product, it definitely, it's not, you reduce the benefit to the producer. So as the world gets smaller, as we get more digital, as we get more online platforms for payments, for making orders, and more connectivity as we have already through passenger and cargo flights, we as a business and as an industry really are looking to try to connect directly with consumers. Very good,
very good. Rebecca, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. During COVID, there is a lot of farmers, there is a lot of agriculture people who've been affected. Did you guys do something to you know, to train, to make these people survive? I saw something very nice that you guys produced, and it seems like a hidden thing a lot of people don't know about it, which is the boot camp you done. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, thanks, Walid. I'm happy to, and then I'm keen to throw in a few questions of my own to the rest of the panel as well. So we focus on tools and training. So we think one of the things that a lot of SMEs are really lacking are practical tools to help them run their businesses more effectively. I've noticed a few of the comments in the chat. There were a lot of things that I think, you know, I'm an entrepreneur as well. I'm sure you feel the same way, Chris, as well, that sometimes there are these big infrastructural challenges that are really hard to overcome as an SME, and we need, you know, industry bodies like yours, Akin, to help advocate for us there. But there are some things that, as an entrepreneur, you can control. Things like, you know, ensuring that you understand how your cash flow works, trying to figure out some different kind of risk analysis around how you think different scenarios are going to play out and adjust cash flow accordingly. Thinking about how you're going to reduce costs, thinking about how you're going to lead your team in a crisis. thinking about how you can adapt your business to identify opportunities that might be popping up as the world shifts into this kind of new normal. So at AMI, we've been offering we offered a free bootcamp series throughout the COVID-19 crisis. We reached about 1,300 SMEs across Africa, and that's in fact how we met Walid, so that was a great outcome. And now we have what we call our Thrive Network. So if you go to our website, www.africanmanagers.org, I'm sure my colleague will post it in the chat for me as well. Any SMEs who are listening from Africa, we do have regular events, at least a couple of times a month, where we talk to entrepreneurs, we hear from entrepreneurs about their challenges and opportunities, we share free tools and resources, and we also offer SMEs a chance to network with each other and from time to time with experts like people on this panel. So yeah, that's just to address one of the many challenges that SMEs face around growing their businesses. If there's a challenge around business growth and tools, please do get in touch with us. But Walid, I was wondering if I could maybe just ask a few questions also of the panel.
My dear, you are the moderator like me, but you are so polite.
I'm just noticing a few of the comments in the chat around from entrepreneurs who are keen to exploit some of these opportunities that we've heard from the panelists. I mean, I'm just fascinated by this story, Ekin, that there are planes flying empty into Dubai. And when I hear some of the stories about the demand from the Dubai market for some of the great products that we have here in Africa, I'm wondering what advice would you give? And perhaps, Chris, we start with you since you're already doing this, but I'd love to hear from others as well. What advice would you give to people who might be listening to this and have businesses in agricultural supply chains in African countries and want to fill up some of the spare space on those planes and get their produce into Dubai? Often it can feel pretty overwhelming as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of regulation. You're not sure where to start. Where does, so I'm looking at the chat now. We've got Ernest in Madagascar, and we've got, there was another, sorry, there was someone else asking a question as well. Johnson in, I think, Uganda. Where would they start if they want to get their produce into UAE?
That's a great question. Thank you, Rebecca. So the thing is we are through the internet. We are all quite easily connected, and I guess it's a matter of trying to almost hustle your way through, find principals, buyers for the supermarket or the supermarket chains, if it's food produce, or the flower shops, and add them on LinkedIn, get in touch with them, and just even offer to send free samples, and then find out from within your own country what the regulations are. They usually are the likes of Emirates will have a cargo line or officer in almost every country they fly to. So then just package your product nicely and get it out there. I
love that. Get it out there. It's really encouraging to hear 70%. You said 70% of your revenue comes from direct sales. So just you've reached out directly to buyers around the world and you ship your product there. It's not, you're not requiring any special connections, special relationships. You just get out there and sell.
I think I want to add to what Chris is saying. We are setting up now together with AMI a platform that once you have a demand, we'll try to aim to connect you to the people. And then once we connect you, then your product has to speak for itself. You know, the most important for these people is the connectivity. They want, if I want to buy, if I'm selling flowers, I'm selling fruits, I need to meet the supermarkets. I need to meet the resellers, the buyers of these quantities. I'll give you an example. Don't go very far. Dr. Ahmed is with us. They are a big player. Doctor, I don't know if that's an area of your domain. Also, you're buying fruits or flowers, etc.
No, we are not. We are not buying fruits and flowers. We are buying only forages,
Okay.
like alfalfa, like corn, like wheat, bran, lucerne. These we are buying from.
But Doctor, you guys simply because you are one of the biggest dairy company in UAE, what advice you give to a Kenyan grower who want to enter and want to grow to penetrate to this market?
Yeah, I guess Kenya has got a very good population of cattle, especially cattle, and they are very good farmers as well. Compared to other African countries, they are skillful, they are experienced, so they can produce milk, long life milk, for example, because there is big demand of long life milk in the United Arab Emirates. As well, there is a good demand in Kenya as well. As you know, Walid, you have helped us to visit the largest dairy farm in Kenya. I was impressed by that dairy farm, but the production is not enough. Still, there are a lot of milk coming in Kenya, imported from European countries, from Egypt, from Greece, from Italy, from Spain. I have seen, and the price is quite high. So I think if Kenyan farmers can have some kind of cooperatives to produce long life milk and export it to United Arab Emirates, this could be a good business.
Actually, this is a very interesting, Doctor, very interesting question. How did I meet Mr. Akin Sawyer? Was actually through a project between Brookside and Dangote Group to export milk from Kenya to Nigeria.
Yeah,
and the potential of milk, long life milk to Nigeria is massive. Akin, can you share that with us? Can you tell us?
Yes, I guess like what Mr. Akin mentioned, Nigeria has got very high population. I think they are now almost 200 million.
I will leave that to Akin to reply. Mr. Akin, are you with us?
Your voice
He's
is
mute. He's mute, Bahar.
Okay,
I'm
muted now. Yes, can you hear me?
Brother, the way we met, I remember it was in Kenya.
Yeah.
It was, you had an ambitious project to bring two powerhouses, the Brookside of Kenya and the Dangotes of Nigeria, to discuss a very huge project of how to bring concentrated milk, long life milk from Kenya that is producing to Nigeria. This is just an example, but can you enlighten us of the opportunities that exist in Nigeria as well, on whether it's fruit or whether it's, you know?
Sure. So one of the big issues we have in Nigeria is that we are currently not doing a lot of value addition. So there are opportunities because we're a huge production powerhouse. There are opportunities for us to actually engage and work with processors so that we can actually add value to some of the produce that we are trying to export. Having said that, we are also a huge market, as Dr. Ahmed just alluded to. When you have a population of nearly 200 million people, almost nothing is enough. And so, you know, we don't kid ourselves. We have to import and we have to export. And so we're great believers in trade, and we're great believers in taking some of the things that we don't have enough of and bringing them in so we can concentrate on what we want to produce and export. You know, trade is it's a two-way game, and we're very keen to do this. I do also want to speak to something else that has been mentioned, and I think it was around a question that Rebecca asked, that look, how do we leverage, you know, the opportunity of this logistics capacity? And I think Mr. Mohsen talked about a platform. Look, it's all well and good to have a platform where you can move products one way, at least in terms of the transaction, virtually, and you can move money the other way. The challenge with SMEs is that if you get a big order from the Middle East or anywhere else, and you've got SMEs producing, they sometimes don't have the capacity to produce enough to fulfill that order. So there is a question around aggregation. How do you aggregate enough either to be able to fulfill what the demand is asking you to fulfill in terms of tonnage, but also nobody's going to carry a little bag of porridge on an airplane, on a Boeing 767. So again, you know, part of what we do is we bring producers together, either on the commonality of what they're producing, to say, hey, look, there's a market over there. They want 1 million tons. You can only produce 10,000 kilograms. So we'll bring people together so that we can aggregate and then leverage the logistics opportunity to get on the aircraft, and then also leverage the supermarket chains or hotel chains or anyone else who wants to either process or buy and consume or buy and sell. So there's you know, when we put these platforms together, it's also about making sure that we aggregate producers to negotiate good deals on the logistics platforms, and then do the deal. And that requires a little bit of legal construction and creation of cooperatives and consortia to actually make it worthwhile and leverage and get scale. And this is what we do. But back to what you were saying about the project we were involved in when we met all those years ago. You know, this was a big group in Nigeria trying to see how it could leverage the market it needed to get into, but also get some inputs from a country that was either producing it more cheaply, more inexpensively, so that they could actually conduct some sort of trade. So let me stop there to give others a chance.
I think let me go back to Rebecca. I think Rebecca was asking solid questions. Go ahead.
Thanks, Walid. I'm interested, perhaps Dr. Ahmad, you could respond on this, but what do you think are some of the regulatory hurdles for businesses in Africa exporting to UAE for the first time? And how would you advise businesses, whether they're small businesses trying to work with aggregators, or whether they're selling direct like Chris, how would you advise them to navigate some of those regulatory challenges and hurdles?
Dr. Ahmed.
I guess you see there are a lot of opportunities that could come not only from particular country in Africa, but from most countries of Africa to United Arab Emirates and GCC countries as well. It's not a secret any longer that we can say there is scarcity of water in GCC countries as general. As a matter of fact, Saudi Arabia, you know, they were before exporting alfalfa and Rhodes grass to the rest of the GCC countries. They stopped because of the water. Now it's not only stopping exportation, they are even, they stopped growing alfalfa because of the water. Okay? So these countries now, including Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Oman, all of them, they need a lot of, there is cattle population here, and these cattle, they need to be fed. All of the feed of these cattle can come from Africa, this one. The second thing, all of the long life products, especially now after COVID-19, there is a lot of importation coming from Europe for UHT milk. We are importing private label from Poland. Some other companies are importing from Spain. Some other are from Germany. So Africa could be closer, and the production will be cheaper to produce in these countries as long life milk. Cheeses, if we go for high quality, the problem of the quality of cheeses coming from African countries cannot compete with European quality. But if we plan it well and we succeed to produce good quality of cheeses, this also could be a third opportunity for United. Meat, there is big demand of meat, At the moment, there is importation of meat coming from Europe, from Ireland, from Australia, from New Zealand. But Africa also have got very good these grass-fed animals, and it is natural, and it is can be very high quality of meat coming from Africa, but it requires to be produced as high quality. And His Excellency, the Minister of Agriculture from Ghana, he was Uganda, he was talking about the opportunity in investing in slaughterhouses, because at the moment the slaughterhouses found in Kenya and in Uganda are not of very high standard. They require to be improved in their standard so they can compete with meat coming from European countries, Ireland and Australia and New Zealand. All of the food, you know, because all of the food is imported. Most of the food, 95% of the food is imported in United Arab Emirates and in the rest of the other GCC countries.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Dr. Ahmed. And Mr. Mohsen as well, from your side, how would you advise businesses in Africa looking to export in terms of navigating some of the regulatory hurdles?
For the, Mohsen, yes.
Yeah, I think, I mean, when it comes to the African business, is no different than what has been achieved in the past with other regions. Well, what does that mean? What we have done over the years here in UAE in particular, or Dubai and UAE in particular, is we've established all these sort of entities under this free zone establishment so people can come in. I think that was in the past. Today, what has been established is a lot easier. I think Chris reiterated that the digital domain of people getting connected, people being sort of directly approaching is increasing, and I reiterate what Akin was mentioning, that it is very important now. Yes, you have a small sort of, if it's a farmer or the manufacturer or anything, you could have very small size of them, a large number of small size operators. That how do we regulate that these guys can become a sort of a single legal entity that could be transferred, or it's almost like I didn't want to use the word, but for the sake of it, is sort of consolidating all these manufacturers under one domain where people can reach out to the rest of the world, in where they can share the economy of scale. They do sharing of the logistics, non-competitive stuff. They grow their farm, they grow their stuff, and then be able to do the. Now with that, because if they want to move under sort of one one platform, there needs to be a regulation that allows multiple players to be under there with sort of different structure. But then coming into the region here, where because we are a small population in terms of the country, we're not going to be consuming what or using up things that Africa has the potential to produce. So what I think where our strength is how do we re-export this? How do we connect this? How do we create the value added when it comes to these? Is regulation in terms of enabling that, so that things, if it's transiting, maybe perhaps doing a quality check for the end product. I think Chris mentioned about the sort of when the Prime Minister of Netherlands goes to Moscow, he's got the flower guys whispering in the back of his ear how to do. But could that sort of regulation, some sort of that platform, be created in the middle here in Dubai, going back to like all these small producers to create a hub, do the checking, do the sort of the money transaction, the quality control that maybe the end user is worry about. At the same time, even the African trader can ensure that the guy in Siberia, if he's placing an order of flour, or a guy in Southeast Asia is looking at sort of the product, that they ensure that there's the money that comes into the sort of their accounts or through a transaction. That, I think it's important factor when it comes to the safety of the product, the regulation of the product, and I think when we started this many years ago, sort of the halal certification, I think Walid is fully aware of the halal certification. It was basically when Dubai stamps something, people associate that with the quality. And that's the word of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed mentioned that. I think that's truly what has happened. A story in Jordan was people in Jordan buying meat, Dubai meat. Dubai doesn't have cattle to these were meat coming in, but it was certified in Dubai. People are associated with quality, and hence it was known as the Dubai meat. That's is where I think we can have that synergy to ensure that the trade increases, and a potential not to have these empty planes flying or empty vessels coming back, as opposed to the way things are going in.
Rebecca?
Go ahead, Walid. I was going to perhaps read some of the comments, but why don't you go ahead and we can come to that.
I mean, one of the comments I read, how can UAE support Africa in adaptation of improved technology, innovation across agriculture, and how it can also impact the small-scale businesses owners in agriculture and in agribusiness enterprises to benefit from this innovation. This is a question for Dr. Ahmed and Mohsen. I think one of you guys can answer it.
Walid, I think there are very good opportunities, and I think SME can play a great role because of the connections you have established already in Africa. The investors are looking for opportunities. There is no doubt about that. But let us face it. When it comes to some African countries, I say some, not all, although there are good opportunities, and people know that very well, and they know that they can make good profit, but also there are so many risks. There is a risk of corruption, risk of bureaucracy, risk of infrastructure, poor infrastructure. All of these things are available in some African countries. As I mentioned earlier, people like you, Walid, because you know Africa very well, and you know the connections, if the investor do his due diligence properly, and not just rush and immediately go for investment. They find a partner there or any African local farmer or local producer, and immediately go and invest with him. That is very risky. He has to do his due diligence. He has to have good connections as well. Use people like you because you can introduce him safely, and you can solve many of his challenges which will face him. Africa is different than other countries. You cannot run things by law because law is in one hand, and when it comes to the facts and what is happening in reality is different. So you have to have a supporter, people like you, and to have a good father for your project in Africa. The opportunities are quite a lot, and it's growing. And it's going to be more and more opportunities for investors in Africa. As we mentioned earlier, still Africa is a virgin land, fertile land, good source of food, which can be produced at a low cost, good water, good quality of water. Logistics is a challenge, but it can be solved. If you have the good quality of products and you can compete with the price, with other countries coming from abroad, logistics is not a big issue because there are so many good, and especially in UAE. UAE logistics is very advanced, and we see a lot of opportunities in logistics, and it's quite successful. There is no doubt about that.
Doctor, I think I have a question that directed to you, to Chris, and to Akin. How is contract farming in Africa? I think contract farming can support small growers,
Yes.
can grow, you cannot have one grower develop. I want to go very fast between you, the three, and see how can this channeled into, I think, because one of the question is, when you are big, and you guys, alhamdulillah, among you and Chris, you guys are big players and established organizations, but we are dealing also with small growers. We are dealing with small companies. One way is contract farming can integrate these people. But does contract farming exist in Africa, and how it can exist? I just want to go very fast among the three of you. I'll start with Akin, Chris, and I'll go back to you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walid. I think contract farming offers a huge opportunity in a place like Nigeria. We have the land, we have the connectivity, and we have the labor force. Now, what we don't have, as you've rightly identified, are enough of the large organizations who can come in and actually produce at the scale that the market is demanding. So the answer to your question is very simple. Those who have come to Nigeria and embarked on contract farming have been very successful. In many cases, they go out and get outgrowers to support what they're doing. But you know, in terms of keeping the organizational structure, the standards, and the scale, contract farming is the way to go. Some are going that way already. Some companies have been hugely successful out of Nigeria in doing that. It's the way to go, and the opportunity is there. And we certainly, as an organization, AFGAN, support the thinking around that, because it helps us standardize and get the scale that is required.
The government has a plan for that, brother?
Well, no. The way the plan works with the government is that they have an initiative on investment. So we have an organization called the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, which is led by a very able person, a lady called Yewande Sadiku, who I will connect with you. But certainly they have very robust plans around that. We have financing as well through the Bank of Industry, and we have a business environment initiative that is seeking to enable that. So the government supports it in part through creating the enabling environment, you know, to make it happen. That is the way that would work. And the larger companies who have approached and expressed an interest have shown that. There are also some policies, you know, in sugar, for example, where some of the companies have been given, you know, concessions on land and other things. As long as they're trying to do it at scale, the government is trying to ease their ability to be able to do it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Chris, brother, you come from, you know, I'm very lucky to have three powerhouses. We are talking about Nigeria, Kenya, also Dr. Ahmed brings a flavor of UAE, Sudan, and Uganda. Chris, you're from Kenya. Kenya is a major, amazing country in production, flour, etc. How is contract farming? How is, you know, just tell us, how can we do it? How can we bring SMEs?
Yeah, very interestingly, we actually do have a bit of contract farming in the horticultural industry, and actually in the flowers, it's actually getting more and more prevalent, because the mass market products, like most of the roses, people, you can get it through auction, you can get it direct, and most farms are able to grow most varieties. But there are certain non-rose products and even one or two varieties of roses that major customers and major buyers in Europe will actually get in contact with farms and make contracts directly for multiple years at a time. So it is ongoing, and it's actually quite a sound, it's quite a safe and quite a popular process for certain products here in Kenya.
Let's say I am a small SME, or not small, but I have an investment. Is it easy in Kenya to come and say, I want to start a small flower business, or I work with certain farms to develop a flower business, and I can grow my business, or it's not easy?
Yeah, Kenya has gotten much better recently over the last 10 years or so for ease of business. It will not as easy as Rwanda and some of our neighboring countries, but it's still easy enough to get the licenses to start a business. And there are bodies like Dr. Atkins, where we have like the Kenya Flower Council, which represents 83 or 84 flower farms and associate members, so associate businesses that work with the industry, which are easily accessible and can also guide newcomers, can guide potential customers, and I think that's part of one of the good things about Kenya is that the industry as a whole has gotten quite organized. So to facilitate business and facilitate growth, but also to manage and help with government, with regulations, with all these kind of matters.
Rebecca? Hello? Rebecca?
Yeah.
I think you have some of the comments from your end. If you can just share it with us.
Not specifically on the contract farming. I'll leave that to those working in the I'm happy to ask some more questions.
Yeah. I think you know, in a lot of the sessions that we do, Rebecca, we try to come up with an initiative. We come up with so for example, in our last webinar, we were able to come up with the support of Mr. Mohsen with an idea of developing an SMEs center for e-commerce. Tomorrow is no way you cannot go without integrating an e-commerce plan within your business. So we are working now with Mr. Mohsen in developing SME from that perspective, and growing and training them, and growing the next upcoming SME within e-commerce. In Kenya, there is examples like Twig that came with e-commerce plan. You have in India, you have Ninja Cart. These are examples of how they integrated e-commerce to grow agriculture and to export and to develop. How do you, and this is a question I think through you I want to answer, I want to ask how e-commerce and agriculture can work together into growing exports and growing industries. I don't have, as a small grower, I might not have the same power that the large players have. I want to go through this with Chris. I want to go through this with Akin and Mohsen, and I think this is a question for everybody that I'm raising with my friend Rebecca.
If I may just enter here. First of all, I would like to answer your first question for growers farming. I have established...
Contract, sorry, I apologize.
No problem. And I will comment on the e-commerce as well, because they are also connected with each other. I have established a consultancy company with permission of my board of directors. Now I am designing a big project in northern part of Sudan for growers, farmers, and it is really very simple. The production per cow in most of this traditional farming is very low. If the cow produces 10 liters, this is per day, that is regarded as a good producer. But what I am doing now, I am upgrading their production from 10 liters to 30 liters. And how we do that, I made an agreement with some banks to finance this project because it will improve the standard of living for these farmers. It can, if they increase their production 3-4 times more, for sure their real income will become much better. And it's not difficult. Here we have in Al-Rawabi in Dubai, some of our cows can produce 60 liters, not only 30 liters. So I am trying to make it gradually from 10 liters to 30 liters. That by having contract with these farmers to receive their milk to the company and to process this milk and export it, okay? To get this milk from them and to improve their facilities, we have to improve the facilities of the farm. We have to provide them with artificial insemination services, embryo transfer, feeds, veterinary medicine, veterinary extension. All of this we have to provide for them. The services which we are providing for them, we will deduct it on the drugs and the semen and the feeds. We will deduct it from the milk which we are collecting from them. By doing this, their production will increase and the company also can make money by collecting the milk from them at a reasonable price. And this will be signed with a contract with these farmers. For e-commerce, to answer your second question, I am designing a project for Abu Dhabi young local investors. Also, it's a contract farming, but it is going to be modern farming because to attract this young generation, these young generations are obsessed with PlayStation, with electronics, with e-commerce, with WhatsApp. So I designed for them a model where the cows will be milked with robots. The feeder mixers are working with robots. The processing plant is working with robots. The cows have got chips. It will read their how many minutes they are moving in the yard per minute, their rumination per minute, their breathing per minute. All of these things will be managed from mobile, from iPhone. He can have an app and he can manage his farm while he's driving or in Starbucks coffee or wherever he is. He can manage all of his farm from his mobile. And this will be attractive for these young people because usually dairy farming, some people consider it as a dirty job. So to attract these people, you have to get for them something that they are obsessed of and they like it. So I think e-commerce in farming now is becoming, with artificial intelligence age, is becoming very popular. Now you can use certain sensors. When you insert these sensors in the soil, it will tell you the time for growing your seeds, the quantity of water you need, the humidity, what type of fertilizers you have to use, what type of pesticides you can use, and it will improve your production. So this technology now already is available with artificial intelligence, and you can introduce it to African countries as well. And I think there is big need for it as well. Thank you.
Sure. Rebecca, good or?
Yeah, I'm interested in how, how small businesses should be thinking about the COVID-19 crisis in this context and in this industry. How have you seen, as people working in the sector, seen trade affected? And for business people who now really are looking to bounce back as as restrictions start to ease, again, what advice would you have for businesses now looking to kind of bounce back from the effects of COVID?
Rebecca, sorry, Mohsen here. If you allow me to step in, I think what COVID-19 sort of taught us, or what we have seen in the ground, is people who were true entrepreneurs got their sort of a much creative way of doing things, a much creative way of reaching out to markets, and certainly even those sort of the creative entrepreneurs, they became a solution to some of the challenges many people faced during the lockdown. And particularly if I come to sort of the e-commerce platform, when the sort of the lockdown happened, we had a company called Grocer. These guys started before COVID, to be fair, but during COVID they became one of the stars. They were the guys who would go to the grocery, pick up your grocery, bring it to your door, and you didn't have to worry about all the challenges. Okay, they were brave people. I have to give that, to sort of congratulate them for that bravery, for their staff, and thank them to do it. And then I think others similar. Just one example that came to my mind now, and that's how creative people got. They tied up with it. I remember even our taxis usually work when people are moving. During the lockdown, the taxis became your final mile delivery. They're sitting empty. These guys had to make an earning. They became the delivery partners for a lot of the e-commerce and all. So I think if you look at that from SMEs or so small growers, each market will have a different challenge. Each market will have a different requirements. I think it's how creative, how sort of imaginative people come. I'm actually quite happy to see what Dr. Ahmed mentioned about developing a farming of animals and all that through technology, which is quite, I would say, a very, very unique, very creative to get the younger generations and to speak the language or to deal with the way they something that they understand. And I'm thinking it's important how we do it. Today you have a lot of the smaller players. It's how do they reach out in the market? I mean, besides my Dubai South, or there's a project part of Dubai South with Dubai and sort of investment corporation of Dubai ICD. We're doing this Dubai Global Connect. It is a platform to connect these small players to other small players, I would say, over into the bigger players, and they come under one. And the objective is how do we smooth the trade? How do we engage with them in terms of to make life easier for the transaction, to see if we can do trade financing for people the way they want to do the trade, because it's a lot of the small have challenges related to
Is agriculture part of it, Mohsen?
Food is food, because I think food was
because I think the main question is coming, if Rebecca also is with me. Most of it is we are small scale. We have products. We want to export. We don't know where to go, and we don't know who we can work with.
Yeah, I think food is one. I mean, I think we went around the discussion. We're talking a lot about food and flowers and agriculture, but Africa is now becoming a potential for fashion industry. After so people like H&M went into Tanzania as a sort of a manufacturing. We're forgetting that you could look into fashion industries. You can look into sort of different furnitures. You can look into sort of other manufacturing side of it. I think that's also, it's a different aspect of it. The challenge with food and flowers or anything agriculture, it comes with a full load of regulation on top of it, because people who are protective about if they're pesticiding or if there's what's the quality of it. But the other side of the SMEs, which I think we're not covering, is fashions. They don't have much regulations. Furnitures, they don't have design items that could be. So I think we need to look on beyond this, where African trade, because I don't think this is an SME for all sectors. Is how do we get the other sectors also involved, which is less regulated, less bureaucratic.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess for COVID-19, especially these other sectors are affected, fashion, furniture, because there is a lot of now change in the economic of the country, all of countries. I came back 2 weeks back from Ethiopia, and I had an access to meet with some fashion designers just by coincidence, and they were telling me that the market is down very much.
Yeah, fashion is very much down, yeah.
But to answer Rebecca's question for COVID-19, we in the dairy sector, we lost about 25% of our market due to COVID because many of the coffee shops were closed, many of the school cafeteria were closed, many of the restaurants were closed, and we lost about 25% of our market share. To compensate that, we started to think. We have to think a little bit smarter, and this is I would like to share with you because it's also applicable to Africa. We thought, okay, what are the needs for people in COVID-19? We started from March up to now, about 9 months. What people will consume more, and what could we do to contribute into that? COVID, as you know, COVID-19 is a disease which doesn't have a treatment, right? If somebody comes with a treatment for COVID-19, tomorrow he will get Nobel Prize because it's a viral disease and you cannot treat it with medicine. The medicines which are killing the virus will kill the human being. So there is no way of treating COVID-19. But what the doctors do, they ask you to improve your immunity to fight the disease, right? And they ask you to improve your immunity by having certain food products which will boost your immunity. By boosting your immunity, you can resist the disease. So we started thinking in Arawawi, what are the products which we have and we can produce to boost the immunity? We found the yogurt. Our yogurt have got a lot of probiotic bacteria, which will boost your immunity. We are producing vitamin D milk. And vitamin D, there is no doubt, it will boost your immunity. We are producing orange juice, which is also have a high quantity of vitamin C, which will also boost your immunity, pomegranate juice, and so on. So we targeted, we contacted Ministry of Health, and we targeted what we call the White Army, the doctors who are treating the patients of COVID-19. And starting from March up to present, we are sending for them every day one full van of these products to boost their immunity free of charge. And we did that to just click the alert for the public that Arawawi is producing these products which can improve your immunity and boost your immunity. When it comes to Africa, Africa is full of food products, spices, plants, which can also boost the immunity. And this could be a good opportunity for investing, and this doesn't require big investment. The investment is not that big. Anything which can boost the immunity is the future. I have attended a session with Harvard University last week. They are talking about the future of COVID-19. The bad news, what they are saying, there is no going to be a reliable vaccine, 100%, which can be used. This just last week came from Harvard University. Before year 2034, unfortunately, which is bad. Before year 2034, we are not going to witness a vaccine which will be reliable. Even though we're talking about this vaccine developed by Pfizer in Germany and this American company, till now they are not sure about it. And
I think we have a good news for you, Doctor.
Good.
Alhamdulillah, we are very blessed that UAE have produced a vaccine. We don't want to talk the Pfizer talk, but thankfully UAE, I don't want to go out of this subject, but UAE have produced a vaccine that have proved its efficiency. It was tested. It was also passed stage 3 of testing. So very soon, inshallah, by end of December, it will be to the public. And already UAE is working with several countries in Africa to support and to work with them into this. And it has proved even above 95 cure rate. But I think UAE, we've been taught not to talk too much. We need to, rather than talk, we need to perform. But that's for another subject. I appreciate it, Doctor. But just to take into account the time that we have, I wanted also to go with one question very fast. What area of change you want to see within the agriculture SME sector in Africa? Just let's go very fast, maybe 1 minute each. I will start with the doctor while you are with us, and we will go accordingly to be able. We want to see change. We want to see prosperity for African SME. What one advice you give them how to access our market, Doctor?
I think we need the most important thing is to create an alert among investors to Africa, and to hold some similar talk like this, but to be attended by more people. You remember that the day of Kenya, which we had in Chamber of Commerce, the day of Uganda, which we had in Chamber of Commerce as well. Things like that are important because the opportunities are there, but people don't know about them, and they are not sure about them. People also are concerned about, as I mentioned earlier, about the corruption and bureaucracy and infrastructure and these kind of things, but there is solution for these things. And as you know, there are some investors who have overcome these challenges and they made very good money in Africa. So people should be aware of that. That is my recommendation for you, to hold as much possible conferences and workshops for people to talk and get people, everybody to highlight his opinion and his idea.
Akin, if you communicate to UAE, what can you ask one certain help that you want from UAE to support you, especially for Nigerian product? Akin?
Sorry.
Akin?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. How can we help you?
Okay.
How can we help you?
I think what we would really like to see is almost like an understanding, a manual, a way of working, a way of doing business, because you know we are doing business across cultures, okay? And sometimes it's the subtle things. The obvious things are obvious, but the subtle things, how do we access the markets? What does the market want? Rather than us going to produce and say, here, this is what we have, take it. And you're saying that's not what we want. We would like a little bit of intelligence about what the market in the UAE wants.
See, let me give you an example. And this is an example for you and for Chris and even for Rebecca. You know, UAE has the largest exhibition in the world for food and agriculture in the world. It's called Gulf Food. Today, it is bigger than Anuga, bigger than Sial, and this is the place. I get surprised when I go there. I don't see Nigeria, I don't see Uganda, I don't see Kenya, I don't see Africa. I see the rest of the world. You know, so I think it is also an area where we want to see more participation, more involvement. This is the place where you can judge, and people. It attended by 200, 300,000 people per event. You know, it is the Borsa, the Mecca of food globally. It is in Dubai.
Maybe I can say, Walid, I think a good takeaway from today's discussion, I'm still seeing comments in the thread around, you know, where do I go to find out about, where's the one-stop shop around kind of getting my products into Dubai? Perhaps a takeaway is that maybe we need to think more about how we can get some simple information to SMEs in both of our networks around kind of export into Dubai and try and close some of these information gaps that might enable businesses on the continent to ensure that they are there at this exhibition.
I think you will need, sorry, Rebecca, to just on this, I think for SMEs in Africa who want to sort of business, and Dr. Ahmed mentioned earlier, Dubai, sort of, you have the chambers. The Dubai chamber have opened up quite a lot of network in some of the African countries that they could be reached and they get more information. Our actually embassies, most of them have the sort of that set up that from a trade that they can get information. And I think the easiest one, use your LinkedIn. If you sort of use any of your social media, you can easily access. I think that's the cheapest and probably the fastest way to get to many people around the world. So,
see, Mohsen, we are UAE government, and in particular with the support of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have set up UAE Trade Center in Kenya as a first avenue. And the main objective, yes, to support UAE product to go to these markets, but also now
the reverse is also there.
Yes, now we are doing what? In order for me to seek the support of my brothers and sisters in Kenya, also I have to help them access our markets. So now we are starting to play that role, where also we look at the product, we see that type of product, and then we connect them with the right partner in UAE. Now we are open in Kenya, we are going to Nigeria, we are going to Ethiopia. We were supposed to go to Nigeria and Ethiopia, but COVID came and slowed that process. But that's one solution that we are working, but also we are working with the chambers, we're working with others. So any company or any organization that have specific question or a product, they can send it to info@UAEtradecenter.ke, and it will be answered, and we will do our best to support your inquiries in these, within UAE. In the future, we'll be able to help you also in other territories other than UAE. Now, Chris, what do you need from us? How can we help you?
Yeah, thank you. Information is always key, but I think also alternate routes for access to the market. So the market, such as the example of Russian flowers going to Russia, if it can efficiently, it would get to Moscow a day quicker if it went via UAE. To open up the trade routes for the product as well. It can be the trading hub, and I'm sure, and it was part of the goal of the wonderful project that is Emirates and Dubai Airport, is to be that center. Our products going to Australia. We're shipping 3-4 times a week to Australia, and it all goes to the Middle East, we're very happy with that because we dominate.
Can we start?
Chris, Walid, I think we need on a separate side. We should talk about it because I think there's something that we can help out very much.
I think Mohsen, you, Chris, and Akin, you need to have that discussion. Nigeria has a lot of fruit, vegetables that can support UAE and the region. Same thing, Chris, whether it's flour, whether it is, these guys are very humble, but they are one of the big players in tea and coffee. You guys are involved in, you are already started an agriculture project in avocados. We love avocado here in the UAE, So I think you need Mohsen, as CEO of Dubai Logistics City, I think you have to have that discussion with these two gentlemen. Gentlemen, I think
we will. Thank you.
I would love to talk more, but I want to go very fast and introduce first Africa Management Institute again for the people who just joined us. I think when we started, there wasn't that many. If you don't mind, Rebecca, just to introduce people what you do, then I will be introducing what is SME Talk and what is UAE Trade Center, and then we'll really thank you for your support. Go ahead, sister.
Thank you so much, and I'll be quick because it's late, but really have appreciated this opportunity. I run an organization called the African Management Institute, and we exist to enable ambitious businesses across Africa to thrive with practical tools and training. So we have an online platform, a mobile app, and we offer a range of programs, tips, tools, events, resources to help African organizations, particularly SMEs, build their skills, survive through challenging circumstances like the ones we found ourselves in, and thrive in the future. We would love to hear from any businesses out there that are ambitious, that want to build their teams, want to access new markets. You can find us at www.africanmanagers.org. And we're looking forward to continuing the conversation with SME Talks. I think we've seen lots of opportunity for collaboration this evening.
We'll see you in the Middle East soon.
Pardon?
We'll see you in the Middle East soon.
I hope so. As soon as those flights are running again, you'll find me there. Thank you.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, this initiative, SME Talks, started as a CSR project that we started working with. But I think after a while, we started realizing that actually there is more room for connectivity between Gulf, Africa, CIS countries. We feel that we have similar backgrounds, similar thought, similar ideas. Connectivity is if you take 4 hours radiance, you can cover these territories. So we've gone from a messaging system into a B2B platform that we are building now to connect people within the Middle East, to connect verified people within the Middle East, and also to grow Middle East and African CIS, to grow opportunities. We feel that through this forum, there is room for trade. There is room for connectivity. There is room for business. So SME Talks is still at the nurturing stage, but in the upcoming weeks and months, we'll be sharing with you what we are developing as a platform. Just recently, we got our first initial funding, which was actually an eye-opener for us to realize that the market needs and the market require such a product. We will be coming up very soon with the next product that can support B2B within GAC, Gulf Africa CIS countries. That's with regard to SME Talks. With regard to UAE Trade Center, it's a semi-government initiative that UAE government brought to existence to support UAE export to Africa. And then what we did is we recommended to the government, you cannot only send your product to Africa, but also you need to support African product to come to our markets. So now we are working together to build that connectivity between Africa and Gulf countries. So hopefully this is your platform available to African as well as available to UAE company to export and to exchange product between our markets. It's a really lovely being in touch. Rebecca, this is our first journey. Forgive us if we were nervous in the beginning. I have to admit I was a bit nervous, even though I've done this 100 times, but always you get nervous with talented, amazing people like you guys. I would love that we come up with something great out of this. Doctor, we need, most of the question is, can Al-Rawabi help us develop our management capacity, or I think there is a room for Rawabi to pass that knowledge that you guys obtained, and specifically you. Akin, I still believe in Nigeria as a powerhouse. I still believe that Nigeria can feed not only Nigerian, can feed the world. Chris, Kenya is my second home. I love Kenya. I feel that Kenya, not only flour, but it's fruit, vegetable, nuts, tea, coffee, weather, tourism. It's really a major powerhouse. And I think we need to see more, and definitely we will have a follow-up discussion with you and Muhsin, as well as Muhsin and Akin. Lastly, Muhsin, your bar and your responsibility have grown tenfold. Now you need not only to respond to the UAE, now you need to respond to Africa, you know? So I really thank everybody for their patience with us, and I really appreciate you taking the time at such a time, and hopefully, inshallah, we can come up with something. Forgive us for the people we couldn't come back to you, but definitely we are there. Most of the material, it will be online, and through AMI and through SMETalks, you can always come back to us with the questions, requirement, whatever you need, and we'll do our best to support you. Thank you very much for everybody, and we are very honored to be associated with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Walid.
Take care,